Welcome to the Data Masterclass Podcast, where data leaders share their unique stories. In this episode today, we talked with Mariana Hebborn, PhD, who is Global Head of HR AI and Data Governance at Merck, on the topic People First, Data Fueled, inside the HR data and AI journey at Merck. Let's welcome your host, Aleksejs Plotnikovs.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, our data community and friends of Data Masterclass. So today we have a podcast, and this podcast is super interesting because we are talking about data and AI in a very special domain, in domain of HR data, one of the most sensitive and one of the most interesting data sets these days. So we have Mariana with us today, and I'm super happy to get it over to you, Mariana, for introduction, your role, and the story will unfold today.
Thank you for having me, Aleksej. I'm Mariana Hebborn, and I'm Global Head for Data and AI in HR at Merck, Germany. My role is to help HR to become more data savvy and AI prepared. This would be in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a very, very minor, very soft definition, right? Because first of all, the Merck is a huge company with a lot of businesses, and you see it globally through the eyes of data and AI and HR data. So secondly, I think the theme itself, the data and AI today is on everybody's agenda. So everybody wants to do AI in some smart way. But when you see it through the HR organization, the organization which enables people in the company, that's, I think, even more interesting. So let's get maybe a bit deeper. So how did you ended up in this work, actually?
It's a very interesting question. And honestly, when I started with natural language processing, computational linguistics, I've never thought that I would work for HR data and AI. My goal was to do something with data and digitalization that has immediate impact on society. And first I moved to personalized medicine, to healthcare, where the impact is very obvious. You need the insights of data, you need innovation to impact patients' lives. And then there was this opportunity to look into HR data. And honestly, now I'm thinking to myself, how couldn't I haven't seen that before? Because human resources data is the data that impacts people and society most, because everyone produces data. This data matters to everyone in the organization, and the organization, that's us, the people. So the link is very easy and very obvious. And fortunately, I ended up now with this decision to use data to drive digital transformation with data for the people, from the people. And this is HR.
Yeah, this is a beautiful statement. And, in many organizations, and even with such an inspirational approach, such an inspirational statement, their daily challenges or, those early challenges with data are usually quite, basic, I would say, or quite common in a way that, people don't see some common metrics, or they see some bad quality. We have, so very simple things which are related with data. It needs to be solved. And I know that this is how many kind of journeys started, for many data leaders, that they've been the people who are helping to address those type of basic challenges. How it was with your case?
Not really very different from what you're describing. There was an urgency. In the people's data, we couldn't report properly on people's data. And this challenge was there, and we had to do something. What we started doing is really looking into this particular issue. Why can't we report on cost centers, for example. Where is the problem? And step by step to fix the problem, very reactive approach, I would say. But fortunately, we started small and thought big, not only on the short term, but also on the long term. And we thought, okay, how can we mind this issue next time? Let's organize the entire ecosystem around not just fixing, the program was called Stop the Bleeding and Heal the Patient. This was my predecessor, not me. And he laid the base for data governance, for data quality, reactive, not only reactive, but also proactive measures, and a model that can be really used on the long term to check data quality, ownership for data, enabling of the tools and use cases, with one goal that we improve on long term our database, our entire foundation of HR data, step by step, and always triggered by a need. This is how it started and how it's continuing, with a lot of support from the highest management, from the middle management, and also with the struggles that we have when the business is running and the data is not really obviously the core business, like in other companies that we know as the big data and digital giants.
Well, even in those companies who are digital giants, they still often don't take much care of the data.
Exactly.
But coming back to to your case, because I think it will be interesting, to kind of really go into that true journey, like what exactly happened, how because what you've said is a great story in a nutshell. But in our realities, when something is burning, as you say, the company couldn't report on the people's data. There is some urgent challenge. You have support from leadership to solve it, which is already good. So you're getting into that fire drill mode to kind of get it done, right? So far, it's very common for many. But then this twist, to make it more proactive from reactive, to see the long term out of those, burning issues, and being able to mitigate, the burning side, but also the long term thing. That's already a different story, huh? So there's a lot of leadership and thoughtfulness and so on. So how did this happen?
Well, as I mentioned, it started with a trigger, with an issue, with an urgency, and it continued as a long-term initiative, not as a one-off project. And this long-term initiative includes nothing but people, data owners, domain owners, data stewards. These are the dedicated people that started taking care of the data. And in a very practical way, in my team, where we have the data domain owners in HR. If you think of the HR lifecycle, from recruiting, over hiring, development, leadership development, and up to retirement and exit, we call all those different departments of the HR lifecycle also data and AI domains. Because in each of these domains, departments, you have data, you have use cases, you have tools, and we started governing this data. So the domain owners for all these domains, they sit in my team, and they are orchestrating the data and AI governance for those domains. And it starts, as I mentioned, with people, not because we are HR, but because the people, they have the knowledge about the data, they can help to formalize it, they can enable the tools for formalization, they enable the use cases, and this life cycle, people enables tools, tools enables use cases, is if one part is missing, then there is disbalance. And what we do is really with the domain owners in my team to orchestrate that. And in the domains, we have then the data owners. So let's take employee master data. We have someone in the employee master data who is really taking care of deciding what data quality parts will be checked or what issues will be really corrected. We have also different dimensions like data privacy, the so-called entitlements. How long are we going to store, for example, the data? Where are we going to formalize them? What are the data quality checks? And then we have also the people that are working and fixing the issues, and these are the data stewards. This is the very common way of governing data. If you look at the different data governance frameworks, what we did differently is that we started doing it. We started really applying ownership. We started assigning people to this domain ownership. We have our regular meetings with data privacy, with the workers' council, with the data owners, with the data stewards. We have a data community that is sitting together once a week and discussing what are the issues with the, for example, employee master data on interfaces. If someone has problems with the headcount or with a flag in the contract that we don't have a differentiation between on-site or hybrid, how do we want to fix that? And I think this is the main difference. So we don't do, everyone is talking about we need ownership, we need data governance, we need to start caring for our data. But we started doing it step by step and also thinking holistically, how can we scale it across HR, across the domains? And what we don't do is we don't strive perfection. We know that we won't be perfect, that our data won't be 100% governed, organized, and healthy. But we know that we'll have a very good progress and we have a proactive and reactive approach if we need data that should be corrected. And this is our goal, to find the balance and to be prepared whenever we need data for a use case, whenever we have an issue. Now we can react and we can fix the issue and we can help ourselves. So this is maybe the main difference that we started doing in HR and with the data in HR.
I think it sounds very, simple in a way. There was a framework, but we actually approached or created that, sense of ownership across the domains. And, then everything happened, people contributing, you have this great connection with the actual HR domains. This is great story. The thing is that in many cases, and I see it across Data Masterclass members, this story is absolutely kind of a right story to do. But there was so many challenges, especially in the large organizations, to get to that stage, to get people in domains be really willing to contribute, right? Kind of seeing that the work which you're trying to land with them as well, and the work which you do as a team is helpful, right? And despite often having some burning data issues or data quality issues, besides fixing them immediately, I saw many, many times it's so difficult to get domains and our people engaged into this work, to get them truly collaborative, productive spirit and kind of working with you continuously. So how was your magic in that space? Like, how did you get that whole big organization being interested to work with you, right? And not saying like, hey, Mariana, just fix it. That's your problem. It's your data, you fix it.
First, I haven't said that I got everything up and running. What I would say is that we are on a very good way. And what I can really recommend is to start activating different dimensions. First, our industry. We have healthcare, life sciences, electronics. Those industries, they depend on innovation. We have to leverage innovation to impact people's lives. In electronics, we are doing research in liquid crystals, and this is something that is, the industry is different than other industries where you have products and they're launched no matter what, like in automotive or real estate, even in finance. So we have long periods of clinical trials and they might fail. So we depend on innovation. And data and AI, where data is the foundation, there is no doubt that we have to leverage the data. So this is this commitment from the organization, from the industry. We have to do something. Nevertheless, it's not easy because all the businesses, as I've already mentioned, they're already running and the people are already full with their tasks, and data has been there forever. But also the business has been there forever, and the business was running, and this is the thing that matters. So how to create this mindset that the data is the important part where people should start caring more than before. And this is on the one hand side the trigger, the issue, but also on the other hand side someone who is driving it. So this team that I have is not a matter of a course. We are very happy that we have the consciousness of the management that we need domain owners, that we need HR, data, and AI as a team that is driving that. So these two dimensions, industry, nature, so depending on innovation, and the consciousness of the management of the people, that we need someone to drive it. This is very important. What we do to drive it and is also to understand the problems of the people. We are not, I have been in this business for longer than 1-2 years, and we've tried different approaches. What I see, but it's a very complex, is that you don't need to talk data and AI to the people. You just need to understand what are their problems and how can we help them. And not only in your organization. So in Merck, we have this different hub-spoke models where we have the support of the Merck Data and AI office, where we get the different frameworks, the tooling with our optimized system, and then the sector data offices, and we are the functions, we are leveraging it. So this is also not a matter of a course, not every organization has it, but it shows that the organization as a whole cares. And then the hardest part is to reach everyone and not to left someone behind. And here we combine different approaches. We have our academies, upskilling, but we also talk to different job roles, like HR business partners, HR integration solution partners. They work in a different way with data, with maybe not with AI, but to find their motivation or where they would really win from data safeness, from AI fluency. This is the hardest part, because for people, the most important part is themselves, that they get something out of this. And I think this is why digital transformation and data transformation is so hard, because it's about people. It's not about the tooling. It's not about maybe the use cases that much, but it's to reflect the people's interests and also the business that is going to progress from that. And we are not perfect there. We are far from being perfect, but we try to progress, and we are in a balance now in the HR organization, where we see there are many domains that are maybe not activated as HR data and AI domains, but they are going to come because we have good role models. So the employee master data, they had full ownership, they have very healthy data. We moved from this big enterprise data approach to products because it's more focused. And I think this is what helps us to keep a focus on where data is needed, how can we organize it and prepare it that it serves the purpose. If we have to report on cost centers, if we have to report sites, leveraging sites, and so on, and then we can scale that if we set up the employee master data as a product which is owned, has good quality, and this product started being used also in different use cases. One example is that our employee master data in Merck, they are organized as a data product, and we have over 300,000 interactions per month with those data in different use cases. And in one use case, just using the employee master data, blending them with sales data, and being able to say what products are sold in which regions, and what was who was the responsible person for selling this product, we saved around 40,000 hours, and you can calculate how much money that's it. But it's not only that, it's also this experience for our customers and also for our people that can proceed pretty quick when there is a question around the product, and help our customers and patients much easier and much faster and at the better way.
All right. So, Mariana, just to recap with what you just said. So the transformation is touching people more than anything, more than technology, more than other things. And especially for data, everybody needs to find some value, right? So value for them as their position in the organization, for them, why they would commit, to help with the governance and so on. Which brings me to the question of that kind of value of the data and impact, even for the organizations which are so committed to innovation, so, inspired by using data all the time. This question of okay, what is we actually changing? What is that kind of a business currency, as we sometimes call it, is being impacted by data, right? So the better data, the better what? The better revenue, or we have some efficiencies or something. So this is increasingly kind of an interesting topic, which came up in many discussions across our members. What is your view on this, also from how you see it at Merck? Did you manage to make that sense of the true value which data brings to the HR organization?
The answer is yes. We've managed to first to see at management and middle management level that trust in the data leads to better database decisions, which are better decisions, and it leads immediately to more impact in the business, to more value. And as I mentioned, we depend on innovation, and with innovation, we impact patients' lives. So having data that we trust, we can create more value for the business. We can create better innovation, and we can create better products that with those products, we serve our patients and our customers. This is the overall setup and what we see and what we believe in. And the very for HR, the very clear or the very simple example is let's take one HR business partner. If I trust the report on new joiners or leavers in the company, I would use it. I would have better transparent overview who joined, who left the company. I can steer my further processes, and I would function better as a business partner for those people. And this is a very small, very small example how we break it down to the level where trust of data is needed. And it's at the end, it's very complex if you don't have this trust. If you have, and it comes very quickly because you have a lot of reports stored in Excel, then people don't code them maybe in a aligned, homogeneous way. And this is where very simple things have high impact on how do we operate with data. And to your question, what we want to change is the operating model, the way we interact with data, we use it, we make decisions with data. And this is, for me, the foundation that makes us also AI ready, because we can't use AI tools without knowing how many people as a headcount do we have in the company, without knowing who are our high potentials, who are our talents, who are our joiners, leavers, and so on and so forth. And this is exactly what is data and how it can be broken down to the operational level. But what we change is operating model, the way we meet decisions, the way we create value for our business.
Yeah, I see the point. And this kind of a use of AI over the data. It's interesting how much we see across companies today, mentioning this and kind of thinking of this. And it comes up as almost this type of indicator, like if you can use AI almost instantly or almost immediately over your data, you probably have good semantics, you have some kind of a context layer, and also you have a good data quality or sufficient data quality, to use AI efficiently. And now the question from my side would be, okay, so you leverage the data already extensively in the domain where I would always presume data should be just perfect or almost perfect. Yeah, it's not like a manufacturing things or this type of a sales and marketing, which is a bit sluggish and not connected. This is a core of the company, the people, right? The people, core data about the people, how they use their skills, how they work in a company and so on. So what's your experience now with this from data to AI type of journey, right? So what happens right now, if you can share, how do you take that advantage of having so much data within your innovative environment and thinking now, is this data supports AI capabilities, AI decision-making, or some advancements with AI? So what's your path on that?
I think what we need to do to let our data enable AI is to put more context. And the HR data is always very confidential. And to your point, it's not manufacturing. I would say manufacturing data is easier because you can't be that creative. So if you ask me about my skills and about my profile, I'm open to write the Mariana Hebborn profile on my internal organizational site. If you ask a sensor about manufacturing data, it's not it's structured data, so it's much easier to get it right or to fix it. That's why I would say people's data, when it's not a structured data, is the most exciting thing in the world, because there is so much space and room for creativity, and it's really hard to analyze it. And this creativity flows into organizational structures, sometimes like org charts, employee master data, and so on. That's why people's data is not the easiest data to analyze, to structure, and to leverage, but it's very important because it matters to the entire organization and to almost each use case that you would like to go for in human resources or in driving and progressing an organization. That's why this golden middle should be found. Let me give you an example with the employee master data. We moved to this focused approach. We offer our employee master data as a data product at our internal data marketplace. And this is unbelievable because employee master data is confidential. It could be confidential data. But we have anonymized and not anonymized version of that. It means that we have on the one hand side, if someone has the need to analyze the not anonymized employee master data, there is a kind of a data contract, and there is green light for this person or for this department to go for the use case, or to use the employee master data. But what we have done is exactly what I've mentioned. We've applied the ownership, the constant maintenance on this product, and development of this data product. As each product that we know out there, it should be maintained. There should be regular oversight on the quality, on the portfolio, what attributes are coming in, on the usage, and so on. And this is what we do. We can't do it for all the HR data at once, but we found a way to start from this focused approach and then to scale it through the data products, for example. Data products is a very good approach, maybe not the ideal one, but to find a way to start small in organizing small pieces of data and to demonstrate value from using these data products in use cases and in bigger initiatives where it can help to drive value and to progress the business.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. So data products we found is also across multiple organizations as a good approach to go with, kind of focus on, few very selective data sets, which opens up so much of the business opportunities, right? And the data is so trusted, so easily accessible, and you did a great this kind of creative tweak, with offering both data sets depending on what people need and what kind of access they have. The question which I would have, and which also comes in many people's mind today in data and AI, is imagine you have this great layer of the data products, and these data products, they served the needs which were before, right? So they served as a data sets for reporting, for analytics, for even operational use. Now, when AI comes in, and what you mentioned, the more context about this data, the more, understanding how these data products, for example, being used would be super beneficial for AI, but it's not a part of the data product itself. And so I'm wondering, that every person today, I think, in that data leadership position kind of sits and looks on the, all kind of data assets we have in the company, on the platforms, on the data product layer, on the analytical layer, on the metrics, on the metadata, and you want to have it somehow all being ready for AI, and you want AI to pick this up and do magic, right? Do business enhancement, do greater decision, come up with those competitive edge type of use cases. So how do you see this to happen, like with your view on the data, with that data product layer which you've built?
Let me check if I got your question. So how can we get data products AI ready is your question, right?
Yeah, basically, how would we reuse what we have? This is quite often obvious, right? We have this great data. But for AI, it's kind of not enough, in my view. AI it needs to have more knowledge around, how that data is being used in the actual business use cases, right? So this is something which you don't have today anywhere available, probably.
Yes, you're right. And sometimes I think about very easy approaches. So should we use the pattern that we always had for the new way of driving innovation like AI? So before it was enough for maybe machine learning to have a well-organized data product for analytics. But now we have a paradigm change. With AI, we need context. And I'm Bulgarian. I lived in Bulgaria, and it's the same to expect that when I move to Germany, and if I speak Bulgarian and do the same thing, so for example, not sorting my waste, and then I used to live with my family, and then waiting that everything is done by my mom with work in the new environment. So this is this adoption and prerequisites that I need to function in the new environment. And a data product needs context. It's not enough to have just the physical format of the data and maybe the logical one. If I want to talk to my data, I need to extend it with the context. I need to add the additional part. I need to learn German. I need to start separating my waste. And then it will work. And this is where data products need to be developed. What we can take from what we have, how can we leverage, to your question, the very important part is we have the ownership. And we have the people, fortunately, that have this context. We have the tools that can grab this context and formalize it. And this is this progress. We don't believe that once we set up a data product, it will work for 20 years. That's why we set it up with ownership, with the tooling, with the potential to be used in use cases, and to be enabled for further development. This is why I see this proactive approach in this triangle I was talking about, people, tools, and use cases that are always enabling and it should be in balance, and someone who has to be up to date and to lead this governance of data and this maintenance of data. And this is what we can leverage, the governance setup and the idea, where do we need the context? Because we have the same problem. Something we can't add to the entire context. We can assume what context will be needed to add it, and based on a trigger to extend this context. But for that, we always need to have the ownership and the right to formalize this context and the data needed around the data product.
Yeah, that's a great observation, and we're planning also to pick this up as one of the hot topics on Data Masterclass Europe, in June this year. But this ability to really get the rich context and not only get it, from, as you say, from the people, from the owners, from the current patterns of the use of the data, but to have that ability to evaluate and judge it in a good way, right? Like, what is the right use of that data? So maybe you have today something which is exist as a pattern or as a couple of use cases, but they are eventually not right use cases, from, fundamental perspective. Yeah. So people using data, but they're not using it in the right way or an intended way. So I think that also expertise of being able to, judge accurately, like what is that context which should be used to move forward versus maybe some old school patterns, which also forms a context, but the context which we rather will forget about and not kind of move forward. So I think that's a big challenge in front of many data and AI teams.
I expect also AI to help us with enriching the context with additional sources and making suggestion, letting the human judge which context is appropriate for the data and should be included.
Yeah, let's see. I hope as well. I mean, we've seen some good developments in terms of AI helping to augment, the data or augment, those patterns. So in like last year, we've seen a number of solutions in data management, which helps to improve the quality or fulfill the gaps in data based on AI knowledge and AI kind of predicted outcome on this. So that wasn't really working up until before. It's pretty much working well today. So we need this type of augmentation and recommendation capabilities for AI to figure out like what's the right context, business rules, connections between different business groups on the data, right? Because in our problem, well, not a problem, but in our interesting challenge to solve is that data flows usually horizontally through the entire organization, right? And we have a lot of different business units which are organized in a more vertical way. And this was always, like how do you don't get lost that context of what, marketing used with data as they hand it over to the sales, right? And then the sales hand it over to the, credit control, for example. There is no loss in that meaning of the data used. Great. All right. So maybe still on AI. It's such a good topic. We picked this up. So what's your view on AI capabilities? You just said you want AI to help with the context. So I think it's by definition very positive, and working in such an innovation environment also sets the great vision for AI. How do you see AI possibly changing the organizations in coming days, weeks, months, years?
I see that organizations, so the AI is there, and it's now the time to just play with the AI. It's slowly but surely going away. So organizations have to move to what is the value, the enterprise value coming from AI for the organization, for my business, for my processes, for the people. And the potential of the human in this entire game shouldn't be underestimated, so that people and AI should become really partners, no matter if it's a desk worker or non-desk worker. AI is coming into all the different parts of the organization. It might be with the processes. For me, this value to find the organizations will be really, AI will augment our work, no matter where we are. And it's up to us to see that and not to fear that AI can take my job. It could be. We see now the layoffs of software development. We see where it goes. But thinking back, my job wasn't there when I was at the university. So it developed, it creates new jobs. And the curiosity of the people, what is the trend? How can I jump on the trend and leverage it for me? This is also part of the AI journey. So on the one hand side, AI will come into the organizations, and the organizations that are not really seeing that, I don't see they're very optimistic for those once. But the future for me for AI is in each organization in different ways in each department, and the people should see it as an opportunity, as a chance to develop. I think the value of is already there. We just need now to speed up in leveraging it in HR to free up time for more human resources, for more communication, for more human interaction. So this is where I see AI as the next support, as the next revolution, where people can be more people, and human potential is gaining more value then. But this is also with AI. So without AI, that won't happen. And I see these two coming, and the need that it needs to be leveraged.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I love your statement about these opportunities with AI. I think, of course, we naturally people were not prepared that AI will move so quickly into this productivity gain, right? That the roles, what we do, could be so quickly augmented efficiently with AI, even with some easy use of that. And so that's what pushes, to redefine those roles, or rethink, like, okay, in the example of software developer, how much he can be reliant on AI, and so how much of that productivity actually comes from the original expectations versus what happens right now, right? When there is so much code generation automatically with AI. So, but your example with HR, this is like fantastic, right? Because what we say is that it's a human resource, so it's an organization within the company which helping humans to unlock their potentials, right? Which hires the people for the right role, which keeps them growing, which helps them to retire at some point of time. So it's a fully kind of a human-focused capability, and in ideal case, it should be so much of that kind of human interaction, right? But in many real-life cases, there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of things which needs to be done daily, which takes people's time, in HR organization to be not so people focused, daily, because they have so much work to do, right? So if AI automates this while leaving the space for people to be more in people-to-people interactions, into that growth, into those untouched yet capabilities, that would be, I think, phenomenal win.
Yes, and I always think that we should start small. What about, let's think about all the different processes that you have in HR, like taking time off, writing development plans for you, for your team, summarizing meetings, planning meetings. I think the time is mature enough that we automate those tasks. And who is doing that? Just a few. So we are still clicking, we are still searching, we are still browsing, and it should start with us. It should start with our teams to think, what can we automate? Where is the data? And this pattern I was talking about is not up to date anymore. That we click here and there, that we write it on our own. And this is a step out of the comfort zone and then extending it to a new one. So using an agent to summarize my notes, using an agent to organize my priorities of the day, and then I can judge what to do first. These are all things that we talk about, flying to the moon, but we don't think about going maybe to the rocket station. And these are the things that are now the time is there, and we have to start doing them, and we should start with ourselves and scale it more and more in the organization.
Absolutely love the statement. And, you being this ambassador, basically, of use of AI, this practical modern use of AI, and then, moving this vision, that ability into the HR organization. So I think this is the plan, right?
This is the plan.
Wonderful. I mean, this was a really great conversation. So I have a mental target maybe to come back in a year from now or something and say, hey, Mariana, so how did that happen, with this transformation of the global HR organization in a very large company, a multinational company, so that they are really efficient with AI capabilities and have more time for actual people, for employees of Merck. We will do it in a 12 months time, like the podcast check, did the promise came up as we thought so?
I'm very excited already.
Me too. And I'm very excited also to support you from the Data Masterclass perspective on this journey. So we kind of do it together. So
we're together on that journey. That's true.
Okay. Mariana, wonderful. So thank you so much for your time today. It's a great journey. It's even greater focus for the future. Very inspirational, very positive. I hope all the data leaders will think exactly this way, this positive stream, and really seeing more opportunity than anything else with these AI capabilities and the use of data. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Data Masterclass, where great data journeys begin.